Hey, college wrestling fans, it's JT1Wrestle here. We have got a phenomenal guest today. Please welcome to JT1Wrestle, the head coach of 2025 NCAA Division III national champions, Johnson and Wales, Coach Lonnie Morris.
Hey, good morning.
Well, Coach, here's my first question for you this morning. The last 30 years, NCAA Division III wrestling has been dominated by the Bergs, Wartburg and Augsburg. What did it mean to the Johnson and Wales wrestling program, as well as to NCAA Division III wrestling as a whole, to break that barrier down and co-win the national title last year?
I think it was just a show to everyone, let everyone know that it can be done but it takes it takes a ton of effort to make that happen. It takes many people to make it happen. Those two programs have just been on such a different level for so many years with Coach Swenson and Coach Miller and what they've put into that and built that. And so the two coaches that inherited that, it really put them in a place that as long as you don't screw it up, you can keep that thing rolling for years to come. And both Valak and Keller have done that.
Talk about the phenomenal season you guys had last year. Seven NCAA Division III qualifiers, four of which were All Americans, and two of which were national champions. What led to such a successful season last year?
I think there's just so many people that poured themselves into our program and team, all our coaches and what they've done to work with our guys. But it also was the mentality of our leaders, Hayden and Josiah, just two kids that just refused to take losing as an option. And believe it or not, Steve, we did not wrestle well at the national tournament. We had some guys left a lot of points out there. So, I mean, we were successful. It was a great, very proud of winning, but honestly, we did not have a great national tournament.
I didn't want to allude to that too much, but just looking over the statistics of last year, you guys had quite a few guys that finished in the round of 12. And if they would have won that match and became All Americans, you guys would have surpassed
Yeah,
the Bergs and won by a landslide.
yeah, I beat myself up. The one that hurts the most as a coach, you always look back on two or three matches in your career where you got to do better, and I don't make those mistakes. And in our match blood round against the Baldwin Wallace kid, Hatton, very good on top. And I have a philosophy: you never give a good kid on top a second chance. And he had chosen top second period, and Peyton actually reversed him, got out. We're winning 6-1. We'd already pinned him during the year. We beat him on points. We'd never been taken down. The decision should have been neutral, and I own that. Those are just things that just doesn't always fall on the kids. Sometimes you got to own when you make a mistake as well.
You said about him earlier, Josiah Fry, a three-time NCAA Division III champion. He has cemented himself as perhaps the greatest, if not the greatest, one of the greatest 125-pound NCAA Division III wrestlers of all time. What was it
Sure.
like coaching Fry?
I mean, if you wanted to know if he was good, you just ask him. He's going to tell you. So he's a very special kid. A kid that as far as you know, I don't think I ever found anyone worked as hard as him ever. And he was a kid that thought he could beat anybody. He really did. I mean, he beat a kid that was on the world team. His only loss and up at our place was to Stanich, who just won the worlds. I mean, that was like a 7-4 match. He gave up a takedown late. That was at the Princeton Open his first year with us. I mean, truthfully, he didn't feel well that day. I mean, that's where he beat Seymour. Seymour was in the Division I semis this year. So he's proven he would have been a Division I level, high level, national level kid, not just Division III. And Hayden
You
was the
know,
same way. Hayden placed at U23s. I mean, so we had two Division One. Several of our guys are Division One level guys or came from Division One, and they're competing. But in order to compete with the Bergs, they've been doing that for years. Getting a kid that fresh off the Iowa State roster still has an Iowa State headgear in wrestling at our D3 tournament. Um, so I've learned over the years, in order to compete with those guys, you got to steal some kids from the portal as well.
You talked about Hayden Brown, but another great senior you had on your team last year was three-time All-American Dylan Haar. Uh, Talk about him a little bit and the contributions he made to the team.
He was the unsung hero. I mean, the guy had he had the most wins, least amount of time in the tournament. Um, just again took a loss. He's steady Eddie for the last 3 years. There hasn't been many three-time All-Americans in our program. Um, he's a kid that started out the Division I level, didn't have some success, and through COVID, um, you know, hooked up with him and just he's a blessing, man. He's one of the best leaders we've had in a long time, and he's going to stick around and help us coach this year. And um, can't say enough about Dylan Haar.
A lot of your guys last year were not seniors. You guys return a ton of talent this year. Peyton Ellis, Jack Eckerell, Devin Revitt, Jack Richardson, Kyle Roper, and Adolfo Betancar. Talk about those guys and the expectations you guys have for 2025, 2026.
Yeah, so not all those guys are coming back. Some of them have graduated. We've got a kid at 25 that's been really waiting his turn behind Josiah, who's very talented, Ryan O'Rourke. Plus, we got a really top level freshman coming in, Nico Rivera. So we got some talent coming in at 25. So that'll be an interesting dynamic between those two. And then at 33, there's no reason Peyton shouldn't win the national tournament. He's right there again, freshman frustrations, but I agree with you. I think he's a kid that should be on the podium, and he should be on the podium high. Jake Erkeley's coming back. And then we've got some guys that have been waiting their turn behind Hayden Brown that are going to have an opportunity. And same thing at 57. Rivet's graduated. He finished up. Jack Richardson, man, he had a tough draw the way it fell. He ended up losing to the first and the third. 2 seed got upset. So, he finished, didn't place, and he lost to the second and the third place finishers at 65, beat several guys on the podium. So it was a bitter pill. And then we got some guys, we got a really tough transfer coming in from Ryder and Shane Ritzma. He's got 1 year left. He's going to be a force, man, isn't it? He arguably is one of the best kids on the team, and he should make a big impact. Two-time national, a two-time Jersey finalist. And then we got some young kids that are coming in. They're going to hopefully build a gap at 97 for Har. And then Adolfo's Adolfo, man. If he works hard, he can be in the finals. That's how good he is. So we're going to have a good team, to your point.
About that great team, here's something I really want the college wrestling fans to understand. You're not getting kids from all over the place. You had 4 kids from Rhode Island, one from New Hampshire, one from Connecticut on your team. These are the kids you won a national title with. What does that say about the talent in your area and the ability to be able to recruit and develop talent in the local vicinity?
Yeah, so JWU was coined Jersey Wrestling University because to take the wrestling fans back, some of the best teams in New Jersey dropped wrestling. It was Kane State and Montclair. Kane State has reinstated it. Montclair's well overdue to reinstate it. But when they dropped wrestling back in the early 2000s, I was really going out. I said, hey, new coach, I'm going to go hit Pennsylvania hard. That's where the best wrestling is. The problem is there's 42 schools that sponsor wrestling. Now there's even probably more. So it's like trying to open a coffee shop up in Rhode Island when we have a Dunkin' Donuts on every corner. So it's I got one good kid and I wasn't getting enough bang for my buck. And while PA is king, New Jersey is a pretty close second. And I started really going there. And what's different about our schools, we don't have school on Fridays. Fridays are a day off. So we have a 4-day school week. So for Jersey kids and New York kids, you're away at college, but you're not so far away. You can't sneak home. It's about a 4-hour drive and go home and hang out with mom and dad and then come back. So we really went after, we built our program with Jersey kids and scattered with some New England kids. But to your point, wrestling and the club scene in Rhode Island has grown to a point where it's just produced an amazing group of kids. And a lot of these kids have been coming to my wrestling camp since they were little. I had Josiah, I had Peyton, um, Adolfo. All these kids were kids that came up through my big dog wrestling camps, and and a lot of the coaches at their clubs are people I went to high school with and close friends, and um, so they've done really well in developing their kids, and um, it's really just putting a fence around the best kids in this area and try to hopefully they come to us. But it's been recruiting's hard, and it's higher ed's getting harder and harder to bring kids in. So what's great about being a local kid, they don't need to live on campus; they can commute, and that's we've been very lucky.
You were talking about when you first got started there at Johnson and Wales, and when you did, James Gilbert was your first ever All-American, who is now a member of your coaching staff. It kind of all started with Gilbert, making that All-American award. Talk about what it's been like from start to finish, and then still having someone who started the legacy on staff today.
Yeah, I mean James Gilbert. Um, the first week of school, I renamed him Gilly, and it stuck. And he's a legend around these parts because he was from New Hampshire. He was second in the state of New Hampshire, which on paper that's not a very good recruit. But he ended up taking fourth at New England's, which solid. That's you usually get a top five, top six guy from New England. If they work hard and develop, they can eventually get on the podium in Division three. And the kid who tech followed them in the New England semis, Brennan Harris, ended up going to the Coast Guard Academy. Those kids wrestled throughout their college career. By the time Gilly was a senior, he beat Brennan Harris, who teched him in high school, 8-4 and pinned him. And he was a different type of kid. He wasn't your typical neutral guy, high crotch, single leg. He was a funky. He was scramble wrestling before scramble wrestling was a thing. I'll never forget he took down Chris Bono at the Carl Adams World Class Wrestling School in front of about 1,000 kids. And Coach Bono proceeded to beat the snot out of him for the next half hour, and he took him down with a funk roll. And again, I was very blessed to have a teammate. My college coach's son was Scotty Carlston. Scotty was very funky, and his two nephews, Nick and Spencer Fine, built just like Scotty, were at Columbia. And I knew all his stuff, and I wrestled with him my senior year because there was no one big enough to go with me. So I learned how to wrestle scrambling and stuff, even though I was a heavyweight. So even though I didn't do it, I knew how to teach it. And I knew Gilly had good hips. And once I put him in certain positions, like if you shot a high crotch on him, he would sit the corner. You shot a double leg, we kind of lock in the crotch and crawl down your back. And from where you're at, there's a famous name, Garrett South.
Garrett, you
Out you're
bet.
back in Iowa, national champ for Luther. I think 3-time All-American. The only reason he wasn't a 4-time All-American in the blood round, he ran into James Gilbert, and he shot a double leg, and we locked in the crotch, and Gumby rolled him through and came up and took him down, and the rest is history. Garrett South's not a 4-time All-American, and he got beat by a kid who was second in New Hampshire, and it's just because he found the right coaches to teach him the right technique for his style. I always talk about, you can't coach every kid the same way you wrestled yourself. So I'm a big football guy. So sometimes you have a option quarterback and sometimes you have a drop back quarterback. You got to pivot to who's in front of you. If you are a drop back quarterback and you're trying to force an option guy to be a drop back, you're going to fail miserably. So it's just important to coach the kids in front of you and add on to what they already do well. And I think that's what we've done.
On staff, you also have Steve Keith, who was a NCAA Division I All-American at
Yeah.
Harvard. What's it been like having a D1 talent also on that coaching staff?
Stephen was instrumental in actually the year before when we took fourth in developing a lot of our middleweights. He's a hell of a coach, one of the best young coaches I ever met. And he actually took a job last year at the Episcopal School out in DC. And he did help us throughout the year, but not as much. Again, it was Damani Burns, Juwan Vicente, There were others that were heavily involved. Ryan DeVivo. There were some guys that helped throughout the year. Um, but Steven still came in the room, and his presence is unmatched. I mean, he's a great coach. To your point.
So, Coach, my last question for you today is kind of a personal one. I grew up in Iowa, and
Yep.
I always was a big fan of both on a personal level and just, watching him and observing him. Any memories of the late, very talented Brandon McDonough?
Brandon McDonough, you just gave me goosebumps. Yeah, I don't want to get upset, man. It's one of my all-time favorites, man. There's so many great stories about that kid, and um, he's. I got a picture on my at my home with him. Very close to him. My wife was very close. Man, you got me messed up right
Well, I'm
now.
sorry, dude.
Uh, yeah, he's a special kid, special family. He yeah, he drove out here in a little Fiat, and funny story about him. A lot of Iowa kids never seen the ocean, and it was late April here in New England, and he wanted to go see the ocean. I had my daughters with me, and we're in a minivan, and I drove up, and I took him to the ocean, but it wasn't really a spot, Stephen, where you would jump in the ocean. It's kind of dangerous, a lot of rocks. And he goes, "Hey, coach, pull over." I go, "What are you doing?" And he started taking off his pants. He had shorts on. He goes, "I'm going in." I go, "Brandon, you can't go in, brother. That's not, it's not safe." He goes, "I've never seen the ocean. I'm going in." I go, "It's probably 40 degrees. Like, this is no joke. Like, it's not." And before I could say anything else, he pencil dived into the water. He popped up and he's like, and I was like, "I told you it was cold." I helped him out, and he said, "Now I can. It's off my bucket list. I've been in the ocean." And but that was a kid who just loved loved life. And culinary arts was his passion. He had an option to go to several. A lot of people don't know he beat Joey Slayton, who was in the finals against um, Coach Coleman, Scott. So it's we got a good one. That was in '07. Um, that class we had Brandon, and Steve Martell, who's a Jersey champ, Diego Crespo, New Jersey champ. Win Magazine had us as the, I think, the fourth best recruiting class at all levels. We had a good, just being a unique school like Johnson and Wales. We have some specialty majors like culinary arts to become a chef. And he told his mom and dad, "Hey, I've always wanted to be a chef." So it's that's how we got him. We got lucky with that one, um, but we miss him dearly.
No, when I was little, unfortunately for me or whatever, I had always had the passion and the love, but as Mickey said about Rocky, kid, you got the heart, but you don't have the tools. That was me as a wrestler. There
Yeah,
was a tournament one time where God, I got the crap beat out of me. I got a bloody nose, a fat lip, got the wind knocked out of me, black eye, all that stuff. And he just kind of took me aside and just kind of, he was the kind of guy that always made you feel better about yourself. He took me aside, put me
amazing.
on the mat. He showed me a move that ended up winning me my very first ever wrestling match. So I have a lot of great memories about him. So I was glad to see him become an All-American for you guys. That was
No, for
awesome.
sure, man. It's we talk about it all the time. Who would win, Josiah or McDonough? Josiah or Albus or McDonough? It's really been, 125U here. We've had some really, really talented kids that have come through our program at that weight class. And Brant, I remember there was one match where I told him, "Hey, don't go up top with this kid. The kid's really good. He's good up top." And he goes, "Okay, coach." And he goes right up top with the kid and locks him and body locks him and throws him. It's just he had a
Yeah.
way of like, "Don't tell me I can't because I'll show you I can." And he's done that so many times, and it was fun to watch through the years.
Coach Morris, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor and a privilege to speak with you this morning. And JT1 Wrestle wants to wish you guys the best of success 2025, 2026.
For sure, we'll see out in Cedar Rapids. We're going to try to run it back.